Good evening, and welcome to the Crown Hill Journey. I'm Christina Abt, your guide for this journey, and I'm also the author of the book Crown Hill. I welcome you all tonight because we are down to our last 4 chapters, and in last night's reading, it was busy. We learned so much above and beyond what we even imagined, as most of you wrote to me later and said, wow, I never saw that coming. So I'm pleased to know that because that means I was good at my authoring skills. But basically, just to review quickly, last night, hi Kathleen, nice to welcome you, and Kathleen and Janice. Janice, I'm having your coffee tonight. Ah, ha, ha. So anyway, what we learned last night, Meg invited Clara Johnson for lunch. Clara is the town kind of historian. She knows everything about everybody. She's in her 80s and she's lived in the town all of her life. She's the fourth generation or third generation in her family to live there. So Meg invited her because several people had suggested that she would be able to tell Meg more about Crown Hill. So with that, Meg got much more than she bargained for, in that not only did Clara tell her about her house, but she also told her about Edward Randall, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and Rose. And she knew about all those things because she was a young girl at that time in 1922. And one of her best friends, Florty George, lived down the street from Crown Hill, and they would come up and spend time with the Randall girls, who also babysat them at times. So they were connected to the house and they were there and they experienced it. But what happened later was that Clara one day was walking down the road going to see Florty, and some garbage. It was garbage day, and the people had taken the garbage out and cleaned out attics and floors and every basements and things like that. And she saw a journal, a leather-bound journal, scattered across the street, and she picked it up and put it in her pocket and didn't tell anybody. And as it turned out, it ended up being the journal of Rose, young Rose, who was the daughter of the nanny, nanny for the Sandrock family at the house at that time in the 1920s. And what Clara realized was that the journal, Rose's journal, told all about what we knew happened to her, and with Mary, with the seances, with Sir Arthur and Edward trying to draw Mary out and using Rose as their bait, and how that played out. And Clara is a bit of a savant. She knows things about people, and in knowing what happened to Rose, and in knowing that Rose disappeared to New Jersey, and that Meg then came from New Jersey and had the same name and had physical similarities, Clara put her mind to it and put two and two together and figured out that Rose was the grandmother of Meg. Wow, big circle, right? So now tonight we are going to go and see what's the fallout. What's going to happen now? So let's get to it. My coffee, Janice. And my glasses on. Crown Hill, a novel of love, life, and the afterlife. Book 3, Meg. Chapter 16. The porch was quickly becoming Meg's treasured refuge. The gentle rhythm of the wicker swing, in concert with the peaceful view of the lake, provided a haven that seemed to answer Meg's every need. At the moment, the weary woman's need was intense. Her plans for a lovely Sunday luncheon flavored with Clara Johnson's Crown Hill memories had turned into an unsavory experience. At least that's the way it felt as Meg tried to sort through the afternoon's turn of events. Once she sat down at the kitchen table with Clara, Meg's entire being became immersed in the story of Mary Southwick. Even in recalling the experience hours later, Meg still had the strong feeling that she and Mary were of the same soul. Envisioning images from her recent dreams of the young girl and Edward Randall served to further the force of her feelings. So it was, in the moment that Clara revealed the person of the young girl as her grandmother, Meg's mind went blank in overwhelmed reaction. This entire day has been confusing and disturbing, Meg thought, as she snuggled deeply into the wicker swing, comforted by her soft cotton blanket. Connecting her foot to the porch floor, Meg gave the swing a gentle push. The steady rhythm soothed her. Slowly, remembrances of Clara's departure from Crown Hill played through Meg's mind. The kind-hearted older woman determinedly refused Meg's offer to drive her home. Instead, after finishing a cup of tea, Clara set off independently, but not before offering apologies, hugs, and promises to return and help Meg work through all that she had just revealed. Yet even after Clara was gone, there remained the continued presence of the leather-bound book that Meg now held in her hands. She had not gathered the courage to go beyond the faded gold print on the soft, worn leather cover. My journal. No doubt she needed to fold back the cover and experience the book's contents. However, the possibilities within those gilt-edged pages kept Meg fixed in place, struggling for control or at least some sense of balance. I moved Eden to this house purely on instinct, Meg pondered. I didn't know anyone here. I had never been near this area. I just needed to move away from my life with Cal in New Jersey. And somehow, after finding the for sale ad and seeing this house in upstate New York felt like a good place. Yet, according to Clara, I was destined to come here, destined to live at Crown Hill. The interlocking thoughts again overwhelmed Meg's mind and twisted her stomach. Turning her view to the freshwater horizon, Meg silently prayed for strength and guidance. She knew that she would never be able to piece together her life and move forward, mend her heart, unless she fully understood the past that had seemingly brought her to this place and time. Trusting in all that was good, Meg extracted the journal from beneath the blanket and commanded her hands to open the cover. One page. Start by reading just one page. Then you can stop if need be. The one-page proposal gave Meg the courage to enter into the written world of Margaret Rose Jennings, her namesake, her grandmother. As Clara had described, the opening page held her grandmother's name and the time frame in which she wrote in the journal. Immediately, Meg was impacted by the graceful style of the faded black script. It was the first qualifier by which Meg could define this woman to whom she was connected. The sweetness of the moment was quickly checked by the inscription above. Herein is written the story of Crown Hill, and the spirit who claims it, as I came to know them. A compound feeling came over Meg. The person of her grandmother was newly forming in her heart, while an overlapping awareness of Mary's spirit was invading her soul. The tag team of emotions created a relentless unease within the conflicted woman. There is nothing in this journal that can hurt me or jeopardize the life I have found here at Crown Hill, Meg scolded herself with greater courage than she felt. All of my life, I have wanted to know more about my family, to know my grandparents and where they came from. Now I have that chance. Am I going to pass up the opportunity because of an irrational fear of some words on a page? Like a pendulum, Meg's cautious nature entered her consciousness. No doubt there is value in reading my grandmother's words, yet by her inscription, the story she tells could have far-reaching implications in my life. How is it that my grandmother lived near to Crown Hill? How is it that I came to this area and purchased this house? How is it that a spirit could be the connection between us? Meg pushed away the leather journal and the voice, as well as the voices in her head. She needed to sit and sense the tranquility of nature around her, sense the wisdom of her instincts, sense the being of Crown Hill that had already become a valued part of her world. Looking out on the broad lake's horizon, Meg became absorbed in inspiring thoughts. Within the confines of her grandmother's journal existed information that would help to define her as a person, as well as provide a greater knowledge of her home. That was exactly what Meg had wanted in this start to her new life. She reached for the journal again and began again. The cover, the inscription, the first page. For the next hour, Meg pored through Rose's writings, reading and rereading vignettes of the 2 weeks during which the young girl journaled her Crown Hill experiences. She was touched by the innocent goodness of her grandmother, as evidenced by the detailed entries describing her work for Edward Randall and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. She was intrigued by her grandmother's passion for Crown Hill, as it so strongly mirrored her own. Moreover, in reading her grandmother's mystifying details about the unknown spirit, Meg felt a discomfort partnered with a budding awareness of something she could not quite identify. Concluding her grandmother's journal, Meg set the book aside. The events of the day, both real and written, had exhausted her. She could neither keep her head up nor her eyes open. Within seconds, the weary woman fell into a dreamless sleep, where her mind went unchallenged while her body renewed. It was hours later when Meg experienced a darkened awakening as she responded to the call of her name. Meg, Meg, are you okay? Her brain reacted ahead of her eyelids. Meg, come on, wake up. It's Brady. Hearing Brady's name in his own voice encouraged the half-conscious woman into full awareness. Opening her eyes, Meg struggled to adjust to the passage of time from afternoon to night. Yet even in the darkness, she could discern Brady Callahan's strong profile. Brady, it is you. What are you doing here? Struggling to sit up, Meg found herself immobilized in her blanket. Reacting, Brady loosened the cotton wrap and in one smooth motion swept Meg into his arms and placed them together on the swing. Without reflection, Meg took full comfort in Brady's protective embrace. Now, young lady, would you like to tell me what's going on here? I've been calling you for hours, with every call going unanswered. I was concerned enough that I drove over here and knocked at your door. Finally, in total frustration, I walked in and found the house wide open, Goldie desperately looking for her dinner, and you unconscious on the porch. Meg was a bit groggy and unsure of her thoughts. Still, she understood that the tone of Brady's question belied his care. As such, he deserved a valid response. The problem was, Meg wasn't sure how he might handle the truth of the matter. After all, how many people would actually believe in family members and unknown spirits mysteriously showing up in the pages of a long-lost journal? She asked herself. Meg was part of the story, and even she was having trouble fully accepting it. Thank you for caring, Brady. I'm not sure what time it is. I fell asleep at some point in the late afternoon, and as you noted, it was a very deep sleep. Undoubtedly, Goldie has gone way past her usual dinner time. It's about 9:30, and don't worry about Goldie. I fed her, and she is sitting contentedly right here with us. At the sound of her name, the affectionate dog rose and tried to draw close to Meg on the swing. Finding it impossible, she instead settled for a place near Brady's dangling feet. Again, thank you. I feel terrible that I neglected Goldie, but to be truthful, the way I'm feeling at the moment, and apparently the way I've been sleeping all afternoon for the last few hours, the world could have ended around me and I would not have known. Well, I would have to agree based on how long it took me to wake you. What exactly went on here this afternoon? When we talked this morning, everything was fine. You were just about to have lunch with Clara Johnson. Did something happen after she left? Meg righted herself, sitting up and away from Brady. She needed to see him, to watch his reactions as she spoke. Clara Johnson is what happened here today. It was my hope that she would be able to shed some light on the history of Crown Hill over a pleasant lunch. As it turned out, she shared much more than I ever imagined. To illustrate her words, Meg produced her grandmother's journal. What's this? It's a journal that Clara gave to me today after lunch. It seems that it belonged to a young girl who once spent time at Crown Hill in the early 1920s. She worked here for a short time, and Clara knew her. Did the girl write about Crown Hill in her diary? Is that why Clara thought it would be important to you? Yes, sort of. Actually, the girl did write about Crown Hill exclusively in this journal. She experienced some unusual circumstances here, and it seems that she and her mother left Eden because of those experiences. But that's not the whole story. The encroaching darkness made it impossible for Meg to discern more than the outline of Brady's face. Before continuing the conversation, she needed to be sure of his reaction to all that she was about to reveal. Brady, would you mind if we went inside? It's getting chilly, and I'd like a cup of tea. Moments later, the two were in the kitchen with Meg steeping an herbal brew. While she pulled out mugs and spoons, the couple chatted about Brady's afternoon with his parents and the leftovers he took home from his mother's Sunday dinner feast. Once settled alongside Brady at the table, the fragrant tea before them, their shared conversation ceased as Meg returned to her story. So, back to Clara Johnson. Remember our conversation about her this morning when you told me how she knows things? And I explained that she'd said she'd been waiting for me? Well, apparently her special ability and this journal are directly connected to all of that. Clara knew I was coming to Eden because she had been waiting to give me this journal. Well, that's pretty weird. How did you describe it this morning? Yeah, creepy. Sounds creepy, Brady responded. I get it that the journal is about Crown Hill, but who is this girl that wrote it? How did Clara get a hold of the book? And how does any of Clara's bizarre story confirm that you are going to move to Eden? You're not really buying into this, are you, Meg? She wasn't really surprised by Brady's reaction. In fact, she probably would have thought the same had their roles been reversed. Yet over the course of the afternoon, Meg had decided that she absolutely believed in the wise woman's vision. Now, she hoped to convert Brady to that same belief. Actually, Brady, I had similar thoughts after Clara left, but in reading the journal entries, I believe she is right. I am connected to this house and to the girl who owned this journal, and all that is written about both. You see, according to Clara, this young girl who wrote in this journal and I share the same name, Margaret Rose. That's because I am her namesake. She was my grandmother. Brady's face mirrored the shock of his reaction. Your grandmother? Really? And you said this girl worked here? Did you have any idea? Did you even know that she lived in Eden? And again, are you sure that all this is correct? Meg knew that continuing this conversation would fully test Brady's sensibilities. Yet her choices were few. She had decided to share everything, and her hope was that Brady would be able to accept and believe. I have never known much about my mother's family. She would never talk about them, no matter how I tried. She didn't share much about her life growing up either. It was weird, but it was my mother's way. So learning about your grandmother today, if this girl in fact was your grandmother, that had to feel pretty disorienting. No wonder you're worn out. But how did Clara know your grandmother? And if she lived in Eden, what was her name? She had to be familiar to other people in town around Clara's age. Brady's response felt slightly more supportive, but Meg knew that the toughest part was yet to come. Well, it seems that Clara did know my grandmother. From what she told me today, apparently my great-grandmother was born and raised here in Eden. I can't recall her name at the moment. There was just so much information that Clara shared with me. Anyway, my great-grandmother worked as a nanny for the Spaulding family, who lived right here on Sandrock Road, in the house that now owned by the Wilsons. As part of her salary, the Spauldings provided a small cottage on their property where my great-grandmother lived with her daughter, Margaret Rose, whose name I do remember for obvious reasons. And you never knew any of this? Really? That's almost unbelievable. Brady's comment fueled Meg's concern about sharing further details with him. Regardless, there was no turning back now. Okay, just be patient and let me finish. You're going to have to pay close attention because the story gets a little confusing from here on. Like it isn't already? Brady's words hit her like a hard slap. Meg turned fully toward the doubting man and unleashed her unbridled passion. Listen, Brady, I didn't invite you here tonight, nor did I ask you to become involved in whatever it is that's going on with me and with Clara Johnson. You were the one to make those choices. And if you want to change your mind about being involved with me or with the dysfunction that seems to be my life at the moment, now's your chance. You can just haul yourself right out of here. As Brady flinched in reaction to her terse words, Meg realized that she had gone too far. Her newfound life at Crown Hill was affording her the courage to speak her mind, at times to a fault. Meg suspected that this was one of those times. I'm sorry, Brady. I didn't mean to snap at you like that. It's just been a very long day. And to be honest, I'm still trying to sort out a lot of what Clara told me. You have every right to wonder about any or all of it, because actually, it is pretty unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know, Meg. I'm somebody who's pretty grounded in reality. All this stuff about your great-grandmother and your grandmother living here and you never knowing, then somehow you magically move here without any idea that this house was connected to your family. It's all pretty far-fetched. Meg could feel her heart constricting as she listened to Brady's words. Describing her situation the way he did, it made perfect sense that he could not accept what Clara Johnson had told her. Yet she wanted so desperately to share the day's events with this man who was quickly becoming part of her life. But at what cost, she wondered. I understand, Brady, and again, I'm sorry for my rude outburst. Observing that her words had little effect, Meg was not surprised as Brady pushed his chair back from the kitchen table. I think it's best if I go, Meg. I came to make sure that you and Goldie were safe. Clearly you are. It's late. We're both tired. I'll give you a call in the morning and see if we still want a picnic. Meg felt like a kid whose favorite toy was being taken away in punishment for bad behavior. Not only was their picnic date in jeopardy, she was pretty sure that she was losing the chance for a relationship with Brady. The worst part was, there was nothing Meg could do to change it. She walked Brady to the back door in muted sadness, sensing the same feelings from him. As he opened the screen door to leave, Goldie bounded past Brady into the cool summer's night. Playfully, she turned and blocked his path as if to entice him to stay. Yet, for the first time since meeting, Brady did not respond. "Good night, Meg. I hope you sleep well." With that, Brady Callahan disappeared into the black night, passing Goldie without regard. The disappointed pet slowly returned to Meg, tail drooped and dragging, on the ground. Emitting a gentle whine, she settled beside her owner and rested her head against Meg's leg, taking a moment to stroke her pet's softly furred body. Meg realized that even Goldie was suffering from the day's turn of events. Retreating from the porch, Goldie shadowed Meg as she moved through the house, locking doors and turning out lights. Heading to bed, the pair was so deeply immersed in their sadness that they never noticed the soft scent of roses as they climbed the stairs. Neither did they see the pale vision of Mary in the bedroom door mirror as they passed. The emotions swirling through me were intensely varied. Meg's reactions to Clara's revelations and Brady's critiques infused me with her conflicted feelings. The vestiges of Clara and Brady's strong emotions lingered long after their departures, furthering my turbulent mood. Then there was Goldie's sadness, absorbed from all around her, which flooded unhappiness directly into me. Still, the emotions that impacted me most strongly were Mary's. The day's events had at once challenged and enlightened her, raised her hopes for the future within the details of the past. It was a kaleidoscope of feelings and emotions that I ultimately experienced as my own. I was truly relieved when Clara finally departed. While the information she shared with Meg was important, it was the gift of her grandmother's journal that mattered most. I knew that as Meg read through Rose's memories, she would begin to understand Mary's significance to my being. She would also become aware of her grandmother's special sensitivities, through which she experienced Mary's spirit within me. Dearest Crownhill, can we be a while together? Of course, sweet Mary. I was just sorting through the many moods and emotions that have defined me today. It has been a time of intense feelings for us all. I agree, my kind friend. This day has also brought with it much of the change that we have needed. I know that Meg is overwhelmed right now, but I do believe that Clara has helped her more fully realize my past. Now, I must complete our connection in the here and now. Once that occurs, I am sure that she will help me to pass. We are that close, dear one. I knew Mary was right. I also knew that she was determined to make everything happen as she saw fit. No matter Meg's circumstance or needs, Mary was going to engage Crown Hill's new mistress and take from her whatever she needed. Mary, the only thing I would ask is that you proceed with care. Meg received a great deal of life information today, yours and her grandmother's, as well as her own. She will need some time to process all of those truths in order to provide the strength you need. Remember that no matter how you decide to move forward. I will remind myself of such, Crown Hill, and I will hope that with all that came to Meg today, she will more clearly understand what has been and what is possible. Her grandmother had that strength of character, and I have no doubt Meg possesses the same. In considering all, I offered a silent prayer that Meg's devotion to Mary's spirit would become as powerful as Rose's once was, and stronger than it had ever had the chance to become. So, kind of disappointing about Brady, right? The guy can't take a little spiritual activity going on in the house. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Brady and Meg. I'm disappointed in him. I think I'd call his mother and tell him she didn't raise a good son. But I do believe that Meg is showing her strength and courage in doing the best she could to try to tell him, and then rising up and saying, look, if you don't want to be part of this, then move along, because this is my life. This is what I have to go through right now. And, Mary's pretty psyched because Meg understands that now. And hopefully she'll get a good night's sleep and be ready to face the challenge as it happens, because it seems to be happening fairly soon. And we know that we're going to chapter 17 tomorrow, and there's only 19. So within the next 3 chapters, we're going to see what happens. So thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Something special to tell you, and I do, but I can't tell you tonight just yet. I promise. I was not teasing you, but some of the details that I needed to fall into place today did not. But I promise you they will by tomorrow night, and I will be able to tell you about Saturday night's special presentation. It will be the same time at 7:30, but there's going to be some fun elements to it that I have not told you about before, and I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a great night for all of us. So we will continue to read Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, finish Crown Hill on Friday, then Saturday night we'll have our special Crown Hill event, and then Sunday will be the reading of the 4th book that no one has ever heard before. Pretty big week for Crown Hill, and for you and for me. So thank you all for joining. It's always my pleasure. And yeah, watch again for Peggy and Janice. Sorry, I'm reading as you're talking to me if I look weird. Yeah, I will now download this and upload it and put it on the Crown Hill YouTube page. If you've missed anything and you want to go back and watch any of the episodes that I've read since the beginning of April, they're all on my YouTube page. It's Christina Apt Reads Crown Hill. So just go to YouTube and Google that part and they'll all come up. I think there's, I don't know, however many days we are, to 27. So yeah, there's probably a little less because some days we did 2. But anyway, they're all there. And I will upload this one tonight as well. So I try to keep current. So this was fun. Thanks for adding to the fun of my life. I hope I added to the fun of yours.